Last summer, a group of friends and I decided to go camping in the remote woods of the Pacific Northwest. We had heard rumors of an abandoned campsite deep in the forest, a place where no one dared to stay overnight. But we were thrill seekers, and the idea of spending a night on a haunted campsite was too tempting to resist. The hike to the site was long and arduous. We arrived just as the sun was setting, casting eerie shadows among the trees. The campsite was overgrown and littered with remnants of old tents and campfires. It looked as if it had been abandoned for years. We set up our tents and built a fire, joking about the stories we had heard. As night fell, a heavy silence settled over the forest. The only sound was the crackling of our fire. We were all on edge, but we laughed it off, trying to shake the feeling of being watched. Around midnight, strange things began to happen. The temperature dropped suddenly, and an unnatural fog rolled in, enveloping our campsite. We heard whispers, faint and distant at first, but growing louder and more insistent. It sounded like children laughing and playing, but there was an edge to it, something sinister. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw them, shadowy figures moving just beyond the edge of our firelight. They darted between the trees, too fast to get a clear look at. My friends saw them too, and the mood shifted from playful to terrified. Desperate for answers, I remembered an old legend about the campsite. Decades ago, a group of children from a nearby town had gone missing while on a field trip. They were never found, and it was said their spirits haunted the woods, forever trying to return home. We decided to investigate, hoping to find something that would explain the strange occurrences. We ventured deeper into the woods, the fog growing thicker with each step. The whispers grew louder, and we could hear the sound of children's footsteps running through the underbrush. In a small clearing, we found an old, dilapidated cabin. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Inside, we discovered dusty toys and faded photographs of the missing children. The air was thick with a sense of sorrow and loss. As we stood there, the whispers turned to cries, and the temperature plummeted. One of my friends, a skeptic until that moment, suggested we try to communicate with the spirits. We formed a circle and spoke aloud, telling the children we meant no harm and wanted to help them find peace. The cries turned to soft sobs, and a cold breeze swept through the cabin, carrying with it a sense of relief. We left the clearing and returned to our campsite, the fog lifting as we went. The whispers ceased, and the forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. That night, we slept uneasily, but we were not disturbed again. The next morning, we packed up and left, vowing never to return. As we hiked out of the forest, I felt a presence beside me, a small hand slipping into mine. I didn't dare look, but I knew it was one of the children, grateful for our help. To this day, I still think about that night in the haunted campsite. I hope that the spirits of those lost children have finally found their way home. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, I can still hear their laughter, free and happy at last.